So my name is Charles E. Wilkes II. I am an assistant professor of mathematics education in the School of Education. One of my favorite studies that I conducted, and I'm in the process of continuing to expand and work on, is understanding how Black learners conceptualize smartness in mathematics classrooms. Smartness is a topic that, everyone talks about, and you might even hear people say that, oh, I'm not a math person. And so for me, being able to truly hear the voices of students, be able to understand and process how they think about smartness is something that allows me to think, critically about the work and how we as teachers can also support positive mathematical identity development. The other piece of this work is thinking about what do teachers do to communicate messages around what it means to be smart and who is smart inside of math classrooms. And some of that could be the tone that we use, the gestures, the line of questioning that we ask, and even the mathematical tasks that we use. And so in that work, I try to think about, one, capturing students' voices, because students' voices matter and they're often the voices that are left out, especially those that are in elementary school. And then thinking about teachers and the things that they're thinking about in terms of trying to really support students' development in terms of their positive mathematical identity, but also their content learning. So collectively, when I think about the work that I do and the contribution that I hope that it makes for the field, is I position myself as a K-16 scholar. And that allows me to see a lot of different areas across the grade bands, across the content. And so truly being able to ensure that teachers have the training to be able to support and create these environments that we know could be valuable and important for BIPOC students. Also being able to capture the voices and experiences of Black learners in these spaces. And then even thinking about in higher ed, what are the different mechanisms that we can put into place that can actually foster a pathway for students to be able to be successful in higher ed and mathematics specifically, but in STEM more broadly. But if in my work, subsequently we get more students that major in mathematics, that's great. But if we get more students that say, I want to pursue mathematics, or I know I can do mathematics, but I decide to pursue something else, that would be okay. Basically, if we can move beyond the I'm not a math person statement, I think I will consider some of the work that I've done to be successful.
My name is Martínez-Cerdeño. I'm an assistant professor at the Center for Neuroscience, and I study neurodegenerative diseases through the lens of the immune systems. Diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, the research has mainly focused on neurons. It's been clear in the past few years that our immune systems impact these diseases as well. And I study the immune cells of the brain that are called microglia. These cells are there to constantly sense the brain and maintain the brain in a healthy state. I try to understand how we can manipulate these states, how we can manipulate microglia so we can keep them in a protective mode when disease happens in patients. To do so, I try to recreate what's happening in people's brain in a dish. I use human pluripotent stem cells that we can take from any patients, any individuals. It's usually skin cells or blood cells that we differentiate into stem cells, and then we can recreate all the cells of your brain in a dish. And having them in a dish is much more easy to look into how the cells are responding and basically poke and probes at them. So with these models, we hope to identify how microglia responds and identify regulators that we can use later on as therapeutics strategies for these diseases. At the Center for Neuroscience, we really try to approach everything that's happening in our brain through multiple levels, from how the cells are regulated to how the cells are interacting, how we generate thoughts and memory, as well as how it impacts our behavior on a daily basis. And that's really the full comprehensive approach of how the brain impacts our daily lives that attracted me to the center. So that, because we cannot understand only specific parts of these diseases, we really need to have a broad approach that will help us understand the symptoms that patients also exhibit and how we can manipulate them and delay them.
Hi, I'm Dr. Felicity Muth, and I'm in the Department of Neurobiology, Physiology and Behavior, and I work on bumblebee cognition. The great thing about bumblebees is that they're really good at learning. And so we use them to study learning more broadly, kind of what they learn, when they learn, how they learn. because by understanding learning in bumblebees, we can understand learning in other animals too, even humans. And in addition, I'm really excited about science outreach. And so I wrote a kid's book called Am I Even a Bee? And we use it in my lab, doing outreach events in schools, in bookshops, and in museums. So one of the really exciting things about being at UC Davis is that it's really strong for bee research. There's a lot of people working on different types of bees. The close tie to agriculture is obviously very important because bees are so important for our agriculture. And we even have a facility out at Bee Biology Road where they really support research being done on different types of bees. I'm currently teaching animal behavior, which is a really big class. We've got over 200 students, and students from lots of different backgrounds going into many different types of career. So in addition to my science, I'm really excited about broadening participation in science. And so in my lab, we've done that through, for example, in the past, a high schooler program where we brought in high schoolers who worked in our lab for a year and kind of demystified the university process. And part of being in campus is really exciting because I'm getting to meet all these different people from different disciplines, but who all kind of care about similar things. So it's really exciting to be here at UC Davis, where diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that is clearly valued a lot, especially when it's kind of facing challenges around the country and other places. And so I'm really excited to be here and be part of the campus group, striving to make change across all areas of academia, but for me specifically in science.
My name is Vladimir Diaz-Ochoa. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Pathology, Microbiology, and Immunology, and we are in the vet school here at UC Davis. My research interest is in immune responses to bacterial infections. More broadly, I'm interested in inflammation, and so we are all pretty familiar with inflammation because it's involved in a lot of different diseases, but it's really important in terms of controlling infections. Sometimes inflammation can go bad. It can lead to a variety of diseases that can be chronic, like rheumatoid arthritis and type 2 diabetes. And so our lab is really interested in understanding what turns on inflammation, what turns it off, and what kind of modulates, turns it up higher or turns it down lower to regulate these processes. By understanding how inflammation is regulated, we think we can create interventions in order to control inflammation so that it best benefits the health of a person or an animal. Our lab is interested in the cell that we call the neutrophil. It's the most abundant cell type of the circulatory system. So the neutrophil is circulating in your body through your blood. And this cell, we've recently learned, plays a really important role in regulating inflammation, turning it on and turning it down. So my training has been in medical schools at UC Irvine and at UC Davis, but my position in the veterinary school is one that helps to bridge the gap between our understanding of immunology in humans and that of animals. Immunology in humans is better understood than that of other animals, and so we're trying to leverage that knowledge and understanding to be able to promote the health of other animal species. The facilities are wonderful. It's a very collaborative environment. There are a lot of faculty both in the medical school and in the veterinary school that have a broad interest and familiarity with doing this type of interdisciplinary work. And that really helps the science to take bigger leaps forward in order to be able to make advances in our understanding and hopefully in cures and treatments for different types of diseases that not just affect humans, but affect all kinds of animal species.
Hello, I'm Rudy Urbano. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Veterinary Medicine, Department of Pathology, Microbiology, and Immunology. At UC Davis, I lead a research laboratory that is focused on trying to understand bacterial infections that affect both humans and animals. One of the primary research focus of our lab is to try to understand the proteins that control cell movement. So our goal is to learn how the immune system activates these proteins to mobilize immune cells to help fight microbial infections. Another research area that we work on is trying to understand how bacterial organisms that cause foodborne illness can sometimes use these proteins to their own benefit in an infection. Infections is something that reaches everybody, and so I really became interested in trying to understand how is it that these microbes turn pathogenic and can have such a big impact on society and our health. So we are located in the veterinary school, and our lab, this is really advantageous for our lab since we really have extra opportunities to learn about different animal systems and work with different models to understand disease, while we are interested in how microbes affect humans. Being able to access different scientists, different people studying all aspects of animal infections is really beneficial for our lab. CAMPOS has been great. I think starting out as an assistant professor can be particularly isolating because you're might be the only one coming in from your department, and so CAMPOS has a built-in community that welcomes you to UC Davis.